So Miss Universe winners are famous for their walks, right? So there is the Lava Walk by Catriona Gray, then Tsunami Walk by Shamsi Supsup. What is the walk of Bea? I want to see this. What is your walk?
The walk for me is called the Liad Walk.
Liad, guys. Liad walk. Okay.
So when you look at our Venezuelan co-competitors, they really have like a bend in their back to make sure they emphasize all of their curves. So we were very inspired by that, but I made it a bit too extreme the last time I was at Aqua Boracay, and I leaned way far back.
Nahulog ka?
So then I became a meme, and now that's why we have the Liad Walk.
Liad walk. I want to see the Liad walk.
So a very extreme lean.
Ay, oo nga. Talaga. Alright. But guys, ang tanong ko, ano ang waistline niya? What is your waistline?
I think 23 inches right now.
May tao pa pala 23. 23?
But I'm sure it'll be 25, 26 very soon. I've been eating a lot after
Oh my
University.
gosh! You really prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was it? Eating once a day? What were you just eating? What was the diet?
I'm really more calories in, calories out. So I didn't restrict what I ate, but I was really prioritizing my favorite diet meal is actually a big bowl of pho. Because the Vietnamese soup is only 500, 600 calories for a really big bowl.
So that's what you would eat?
Yeah.
Wow! O tignan nyo naman. Talagang ready for the competition.
Ready for Puerto Rico!
Nakita na natin ang kanyang signature Liad walk, but there's more than meets the eye with Miss Universe Bea Millan-Windorski. Thank you for being here.
Maraming salamat po for having me. I'm so excited to sit down with you and to share a little more about where I come from.
You're 5'11", you're just naturally statuesque, pero ang interesting sa buhay mo, hindi mo naman pinangarap maging beauty queen nung bata ka.
Hindi talaga, kasi I've always been more academically inclined, focusing on my studies first and foremost. So I did some pageants here and there when I was growing up for scholarship money, but never thought that I'd one day be a contestant for Miss Universe. And I remember my first Miss pageant, my mom signed me up for it without even telling me. So that was quite a surprise and even more shocking when I ended up winning it. So now competing at Miss Universe Philippines, it's the first time that I myself have chosen to join. And I'm just so thankful and excited to represent our country on the international stage.
Your mother migrated to the United States and you were born in the US, and that's where she married your father. Ikinwento mo that you joined pageants for scholarships. Why is that, Bea? What was life like? Naghihirap ba kayo sa Amerika noon?
My parents gave me a really amazing life, and I was able to do so many activities like study cello at the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music. I was able to train as a ballerina at Milwaukee Ballet School, but the scholarship component came because my family were very academically driven and prioritized education first. So even from a young age, I knew that one day I'd want to go to law school or maybe pursue a PhD, not just get that bachelor's or undergrad. So I knew that I would have to find a lot of money to fund the kind of education I wanted.
Were any of your parents against you joining beauty pageants?
It's really funny because my mom has been so supportive of my journey in the past, competing at a Miss pageant. But this time around, she was really hesitant when I told her I'm joining Miss Universe Philippines because she wants me to go to law school. She wants me to continue that education. And she was worried if I delayed it another year, maybe I'd go down the path of wanting to go into showbiz. Maybe I'd want to be an artista. When she wants me to live up to my dreams I had growing up of being a diplomat or working in public service.
So natakot ang nanay mo, pero ironically, ang nanay mo ang nagpasok sa'yo, nag-register sa pangalan mo for you to join Miss Earth
Yes.
in the United States.
Totoo.
Oo,
Yeah.
bakit daw niya ginawa yon?
She really wanted me to join Miss Earth because I've been a lifelong environmentalist, which I really credit to my dad. He was always making sure we were going on family hikes, ensuring that we understood the value of preserving nature for future generations. And she thought that I had the goods to do well as a Miss contestant, being 5'11", and she really wanted to push me to become the best version of myself at that time. I was a senior or in my 4th year of my undergrad, so I think the timing just made more sense for her.
Eh, nanalo ka doon.
Yeah, and we were both shocked when I won. I remember she said afterward, the first thing she said to me was, "What the heck just happened?" And kind of the same for Miss Universe Philippines. We're a very pragmatic family. We never really assumed the best outcome. So in both instances, my entire family was really shocked by the results.
Your mother is what you would consider your support system.
Yes, when it was Miss Earth, it was really just me and her preparing for that international competition. Her steaming my gowns, us reviewing Q&A. There were a lot of late nights and even sometimes a lot of fights. But I think once she saw the strong support system I have here in the Philippines, she understood because I could fully focus on being myself and bringing my best to the international competition. I think a lot of her hesitation came from how difficult that first go at a pageant was for us.
Your mother went through something that was very tough, right? In her own life.
I remember when I was around 7, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was an early enough stage where the doctors were very optimistic. But this also aligned with the ramifications of the 2008 financial crisis. So it was a kind of scary time for my family of how we could handle all of this. And seeing my mom, who is such a force, such a strong woman, go through something like chemotherapy, see how sick she was. I remember one time before school, she even fainted, and we had to call the ambulance. And that was just the first time I've seen my mom struggle physically. That was really an eye-opener. And this Mother's Day, too, I'm really reflecting on how much she shaped my life. Because I'm, of course, close with my dad, but I'm really a mama's girl, and I've been so close with her my entire life. And now living here in the Philippines, 13,000 kilometers away from her, I'm really valuing the fact that she was able to come to my coronation night.
Did you fear losing your mom?
Of course, I was 7 and then 8 at the time, and that's who I always would run to when I was crying or upset. So the thought of losing her was really scary talaga, but I'm lucky that I have such an active father who played such an active role in my childhood too. And despite both my parents being working at the time, they were very supportive of me and my older brother throughout all of our lives. They were so involved and really made sure that they set us up for success as best as they could.
What was life like in Wisconsin, growing up there?
We were very comfortable, and I would say anything that I wanted out of my childhood, I was able to get it, but we never lived above our means. Something that my parents are very passionate about is still staying humble and not really being ostentatious ever. We would always volunteer around the holiday season.
So no luho, walang mga luxuries, walang ganon. Oo.
Because it was more important for us to save for the future, no matter how financially comfortable my family was. Both my mom and my dad are kuripot talaga. Like, they are more focused on preserving for the future, making sure that we always have a rainy day fund if there's something in our education or a medical problem that pops up. That's more important than spending in the now.
Your older brother, Sonny, is now a trans man. What was that like at home? You know, for you as a sister and witnessing your brother go through that.
It was really inspirational for me and an easy transition for me to see my older sibling transition into who they truly are, because Sunny has always been different and unapologetically themselves. So it didn't necessarily come as a surprise to me. It was more of a surprise to my mom because, of course, as a mother, you see your children as your little girls and you see them grow up in that way. And it was a shock for my mom to realize that there's all that internal transformation and internal challenge going on for your child. And my main takeaway from Sunny's transition is the power of being true to yourself, regardless of what other people say.
But how did your father take it?
My father was actually very accepting. I remember he responded to Sunny's message about, hello, I'm transgender, my preferred name is Sunny. And my father was like, I love the name Sunny. That's the same name as my uncle. So my dad has always been very, very open-minded, which is something that I learned from him and something that I value throughout my whole life too.
So how did your mom accept Sunny?
She just needed to sit with it for a while. And it is a lot to process. It's a lot of change. And the first few years, it was a lot of correcting her, saying, Sunny's pronouns are this, their name is Sunny, not Amelia. And for any parent with a trans child out there, it's about learning and growth. You will make mistakes. You might have a negative reaction at first, but it's about accepting your child because true love is unconditional.
So technically, social awareness started in your own home with you. Environmentalism, inclusion with the LGBTQ+, authenticity.
My parents have always been very open-minded and have always included me, making sure that I'm socially conscious. I remember on the radio, it was a constant stream of live updates from the news. We would even go to activations like collective bargaining for public school teachers in the US. That was my first ever engagement. I was 7 years old and we went to support my tita who's a public school teacher. And then even at that rally, that was the first time I saw former President Obama speak. And I saw that you can leverage charisma to affect real change and progress in the world.
Why didn't you think of applying or auditioning to be a reporter or broadcast journalist in Wisconsin?
For me, mas importante sa Pilipinas because there is an election coming up in 2028 that will really define the future of where our country goes. And I'd love to go into broadcast journalism because it's important. The Filipino people are smart, they're discerning, but we need to really make sure all the information is out there and properly represented. And I feel more of a desire to push the Philippines into the future hand in hand with my kababayan than I do in the US because growing up, I had two homes. I had Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I spent most of my time, but I also had San Juan, La Union, where we would visit whenever we could. And that's where I fell in love with the Philippines and felt a sense of belonging and home.
You said you always felt like you didn't belong. Mahirap paniwalaan yun kasi pag tinignan ka, my gosh, she has everything. You know, she's so gorgeous, she's so tall. Why wouldn't she think she belongs in a country like in the United States that is so diverse? Ano ba talaga ang naging pakiramdam mo?
I think it also comes down to the kind of community I grew up in. It was very non-diverse and it took a long time.
Ano, puro puti?
Yes, totoo. And it was very difficult for me to even recognize that I was beautiful for a long time because the beauty standard was always blonde hair, blue eyes, super puti, and that's not me.
Tama.
And I was also really awkward growing up. It took me a while to grow into myself. For a while, I had a unibrow, I had bad acne, braces, glasses, anything you could think of to make someone look nerdy.
I was gonna say, wait, you had bad acne? May
Yes.
pagkakataon noon, hindi maganda si Bea?
I had cystic acne too, so it was always red and inflamed. And I'm a very overeager person too. I was even involved with a lot of political movements in high school, and my classmates would sometimes find it pretty annoying and overbearing. So that combined with my looks, really, I was not popular at all in high
Nabully
school.
ka ba noon nung high school?
Yeah, definitely. And I had to come around to realize, though, no one feels at home or at place in high school. No one feels great about themselves because it's a very insecure time in your life. But I thought that would be all solved in university, that finally I would come into my own. And that wasn't necessarily the case either. I really credit pageantry with helping me realize the fully actualized version of who Bea is.
And then sumugal ka. You suddenly decided, I want to go to the Philippines. You're an American citizen. Also dual naman, Filipino ka din. Pero you could have had a career in the United States. Anong naging reaksyon ng mga magulang mo?
When I made the move, my family was very shocked and pretty against it because I landed a job in strategic communications here in the Philippines, where I would be a communications consultant for different nonprofits, making sure their impact reports had the correct verbiage that they wanted, ensuring that all their written materials were spot on. And I took a big pay cut to do that. Previously, I was working for a nonprofit behind Los Angeles Climate Week in the US, and they were so shocked and asking why. But it's because the Philippines is going through so many socioeconomic issues right now, and especially as someone who's really tapped into the environmental space, Typhoon Among had occurred right when I moved here. There were several natural disasters right before, and I felt that I could make more of an impact here, that the Philippines is one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. So it's more important to do the on-the-ground work here to make sure that Filipinos are properly protected.
So you did not move to the Philippines to join Miss Universe here.
The goal was to continue working in the nonprofit sector. And then I was actually very interested in attending the Ateneo University for law school. I really wanted to more so pursue a career in public service, whether that be with the Department of Environment or Natural Resources or the Department of Migrant Workers, given my background working with immigrant and refugee communities in the U.S.
Nung lumipat ka sa Pilipinas, magkano ang dala mong pera noon? Kasi you said that when you were getting all these awards in Miss Universe, no, yung tawag doon, yung Hakot Awards, hinakot mo lahat. Ang iniisip mo lang, wow, may pambayad na ako ng renta. So nung narinig ko yun, oh, okay, naghihirap pa si Bea. Diba that you were thinking of your rental payment?
Because my parents were very like, if you're ever going through financial stresses in the Philippines, just move back home. And it's very important to me that I succeed here and that I'm able to support myself without worrying my parents. While my Lola lives in La Union and I could always move back in with her, I'm such a city girl at heart. So I feel like I'm fulfilling a childhood dream of mine by being able to make it work and be independent here in Makati.
What finally made you decide to join Miss Universe?
It was getting a call from my local director, Miss Haley Ali, because it's no secret that competing for a pageant is really financially stressful. It's a huge investment, and I was intending on waiting a few years to compete. It's every young Filipina girl's dream to join MUPH. And even if I would doubt myself sometimes, I was like, maybe 2027, 2028, I could give it a go after I save a bit more. But Miss Haley was also the engine and force behind Atisa Manalo's run in 2025. And the fact that she would support me to be MUPH La Union, where I really fell in love with the Philippines, The fact that I wouldn't have to worry about making connections with glam teams, with stylist designers, because she already had that Rolodex of contacts. That's when I was like, I can't let an opportunity like this up. So even though I didn't feel ready, even though I felt scared, I decided to take that leap because Miss Haley, her record speaks for itself. The fact that she got Atisa to the crown.
People don't think how financially stressful it could be to join Miss Universe. What kind of investment or money does a candidate need?
In a previous interview, Atisa said it's at least $500,000 talaga. Because if you think about it, you pay for your glam team, you pay for a stylist, you pay your designers. You also, if you don't live in Manila already, you pay for rent, you have to pay for grabs. So it's even more expensive this year given fuel prices. There's so many
Kumbaga,
things
ang
to
daming
think about.
gastos.
There's training involved.
Mahal ang training.
Hindi talaga. Because if you are lucky enough to find someone who's willing to take you on as their alaga, there's a lot of people in the industry who just believe in the candidates and want to support them. But then there's also that utang na laob. The fact that so many people believe in you and offer you something. There's the small everyday things like you want to feed your team, you want to give them gifts. And it's just these little things that add up and up and up.
I think it's important you're sharing this kasi hindi lahat ng sumasali sa Miss Universe, no, ay may kaya. Diba karamihan doon are Filipinas with dreams
Yes,
of
totoo.
winning, diba? And wala silang ganung pera.
I would say though, on the same measure, you are able to succeed and win the Miss Universe Philippines crown even if you don't have that support system. Even recently, Chelsea Manalo, it was just her and her parents. Her parents would sometimes do her own glam. Same with the recently crowned Miss World Philippines, Asia Rose Simpson, where it's really just her and her family. So don't be discouraged by the price tag. Because there are ways where if this is really your dream, you could still succeed despite how scary and insurmountable it might seem.
The competition is tough. Of course, all the girls will get along. But at the end, there's one Miss Universe. Were you ever depressed? Or did you say, I'm not gonna make it?
Well, for me, what's really important before joining is, am I okay regardless of if I win or not? Will I be happy for whoever is crowned? And if the answer is no, then I don't want to join at that point. Then I'm not ready. But the fact that I found myself willing and able to continue the kind of work I'd already been doing, regardless of if it was a crown or not, that's when I knew I'm ready. I'm in the right mental headspace to join. But everyone is so shocked and finds my reaction funny during the crowning moment.
Yeah.
And
You were shocked and in disbelief?
That's a time
Yeah.
when I doubted myself if I was able to win the crown, because I was standing beside 6 really accomplished, beautiful, and intelligent women. And I was really just taking in the moment being beside them. And I thought that they've worked just as hard, if not harder, than me. So it very well might be one of them. And I'm resigned to that. And I'm happy for them. And while this was all going in my head, Miss Ara was giving the announcement. So I was just clapping and okay, what's up next? After the coronation, we have an after party. And I didn't realize until Allison, Miss Pampanga, shook me and was like, Bea, it's you.
My God. But then you looked at the audience. Who did you look for?
I was looking for my mom and my lola.
Your dad was not there.
Yeah. Well, with fuel prices and everything, it was really, we could only afford one parent to come. And my mom has been so hands-on my entire pageant journey. Of course, we wanted it to be her. And I love my dad, and he's been very supportive in all of my endeavors. But I also don't necessarily like it when he watches my pageants, because during the swimwear competition, I'm just shy about it.
Oh my God. Wow. So your mom, I saw the photo. I mean, she was so emotional.
Yeah.
She couldn't believe it, no? I mean, everything you've done, and then suddenly you got the top prize.
Yeah. A part of her always worries about me. I'm her youngest, and my parents always wanted like a traditional, you do this, you do that kind of path. Her vision for me is I finish my bachelor's degree, I go to law school, I become a lawyer, I work in DC or New York, but I decided to take an alternate path. And I think she was so emotional because by winning the Miss Universe Philippines crown, she saw that the gamble paid off and that I'll be okay.
And you know, you are beyond okay, because what's interesting with what you've been through is, one, you've done a lot of work in La Union. You really have environmental projects there, right?
Yeah.
And yet, social media has been quite tough. How did you deal with it when you read them, you heard them?
I am a very emotional person. So sometimes I would be very sad about it. It would really hurt my feelings. But I talked to my team about it and they're like, you can take it as constructive criticism. You can take it into account, because if you're in a good headspace to receive those kind of comments, do it. But if you're not in the right headspace, it's not beneficial. It's not going to help you at all. So just really check in with yourself, Muna. And then it was also a good reminder that when I do these projects and do this work, I'm not really concerned about documenting it for social media. I'm just concerned with being on the ground, doing what I can to help. But it was a good reminder that optics do really matter. And
they have to see it.
Yeah,
but
you
then
have to
did
see
you
it to
feel the
believe it.
need to defend yourself?
More so, I just feel the need to continue that work, because the fact that there's so much discourse around it shows that people do care. So if I'm able to continue the work I'm already doing, then that's all that matters at the end of the day.
I like that. That's all that matters. How do you remain strong?
I do pray a lot throughout this journey. And when I first moved to the Philippines, I did a lot of work to reconnect with my Catholic upbringing. For a while, I stepped away from the church because of conversations about our LGBT brothers and sisters. But then when I moved to the Philippines, I saw that it's quite flexible here. The fact that so many of my openly gay brothers and sisters attend Mass, are very faithful. And when I joined the Trillion Peso March and saw the clergy was out there working hand in hand against corruption too, that's when I decided to come back to the Catholic Church. And it's been a huge help, praying the rosary when I'm feeling stressed, going to the chapel in Greenbelt to pray in front of the statue of Mother Mary.
Kumbaga, your faith was renewed
Yes,
in the
definitely.
Philippines.
Especially given after several typhoons and natural disasters here, it's really the clergy that's out passing out aid relief. I remember in November, I was in Novatas also distributing aid. And that was through a Catholic parish.
If you look back on your very young life, what was the lowest point in your life?
The lowest point was right before I moved to the Philippines, because I was on contract for another nonprofit and living in Louisiana, rural Louisiana, to try and do some environmental work with the communities there. Louisiana is a very hurricane-prone area, also very climate vulnerable. But I was living in a trailer park.
What?
Yeah.
I don't think people know this.
No, this is new lore. I feel like every time I bring up something I'm done, people are like, what? But I just try to live many lives.
You were living in a trailer park.
Yeah.
And
it was just
for work. For service.
It was an interesting time in my life because
Why were you living in a trailer park?
Because it was a very rural area of Louisiana where I was. And it was just that I didn't feel very inspired. As someone who really gets a lot of energy from city life, I would say that's the closest I've lived to being a true provinciana. Is rural life in the U.S. is very similar to the province.
But were you in NGO work there? Bakit ka
Yeah.
nandun? So yun yun.
Yeah.
So you were in NGO work in Louisiana, sa trailer park ka nakatira.
Opo.
Oo, malungkot yun guys, mahirap yun. Oo.
But it was just
That's
I
low.
felt very directionless at that time in my life. And I'd also been in a relationship where I got very steady and complacent with what I was doing. So by finally moving to the Philippines, it was such a big change of pace that I finally felt like I snapped into who I am.
Yeah. So you left your boyfriend in Louisiana.
Yes, yeah. My ex, who I also really credit with, he was so supportive in my previous journeys talaga. But it's such a change to move here to the Philippines that I don't blame him at all. It was just a mutual decision to part ways. Long distance across the entire Pacific Ocean is way too difficult.
So the truth is, the Bea today is because of you being in the Philippines. The Philippines made you bloom.
I would say so. Yeah. And everyone has been in my real life has been very supportive of the move and has asked what they could do to help, what they could do to help what career moves I want beyond the crown. And having that confidence, seeing that confidence other people have in me is what gave me confidence in myself.
Sinabi mo may jowa ka. Talaga. You have a boyfriend. Okay, and your boyfriend is a writer.
Yes.
Is in journalism, right?
Yeah.
Isn't this difficult, being Miss Universe? You're gonna be away. Ano bang rules sa Miss Universe?
I would say it's been actually really easy for both of us to understand one another because he is a journalist. He has to drop things really quickly. Sometimes I'll ask him to go to another country or another province at the last minute. And it's very similar to my work where at the last minute, I might be in the studio for 12 hours when I said I'd meet him later. And because our lives are so hectic, we've been able to carve out a place for just us by understanding one another.
Have people told you look like Liza Soberano?
Yeah.
Super, no?
Yeah.
But you know who else you look like? You look like the young Brooke Shields.
Thank you so much.
Do you know Brooke Shields?
Yeah, of
But do you know
course.
she looked like when she was young?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look alike. May nagsabi na nun.
I mean, some people have started saying that in the comments section, and it's been very surprising to me.
See?
Especially within me, there's still that girl who used to be bullied for her looks. So
Yeah.
getting all of this positive feedback has been so mind-blowing to me.
So I want to ask you, these are light questions. If you were to choose Wisconsin or La Union,
La Union.
Miss Universe crown or being attorney at law,
Attorney at law.
Pinoy o puti,
Pinoy.
climate justice or social equity,
Climate justice.
love or career,
Career.
what scares you the most,
Not succeeding.
what makes you cry,
A lot. I'm a very emotional person, but what makes me cry too is really seeing injustice firsthand.
who is your role model lawyer?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Ako din. Oo. Bakit siya?
Because the fact that she was able to overcome so many gender expectations and be one of the most prolific Supreme Court justices in U.S. history shows the true strength of womanhood. The fact that she was able to find strength in herself, but then also maintain her femininity throughout
Yeah.
her entire career.
Who's your role model Miss Universe from the Philippines?
Catriona Gray.
Catriona. Are you friends with Catriona? Do you know each
I
other?
haven't met her in person yet,
Very
but
nice.
I was so kilig when I saw her story congratulations post after I won Miss Universe Philippines because it was Pia Wurtzbach who gave me consciousness about Philippine pageantry and I started following. But Catriona, I was so inspired by how she uses the crown for change and the fact that our two most previous Miss Universes from the Philippines, both Pia and Kat, are so advocacy driven is just so amazing to me. And I'm excited to continue their legacy.
Are you pressured? Because we've had Miss Universe winners, right? I mean, taking home the crown.
I would say pressure is a privilege. And the fact that Filipinos care so much is really what drives me forward to make sure I bring the best of what the Philippines has to offer to the international stage. And something interesting too is I've experienced both. I've experienced representing the US internationally, and that's a country where we have a history of pageantry, but people don't care as much. And I would say that indifference is harder to deal with than how much Filipinos care. The fact that they care is amazing, and I promise to ride this pressure to make sure I give the best performance possible.